Welcome in, everybody. Hello, Rosie. Can you tell me if my topic showed up whenever you joined the live? It's not showing up on my end. I just wanted to make sure that the topic is actually showing up, because I don't always do that. But today's live is going to be a little bit different. Welcome in, everybody. Hello, Kelly. Did anybody see a topic whenever you joined the live? If you could let me know, that would be very helpful. For anybody who did not see, because I don't know if that part worked or not, I'm not going to have a regular live today. I think this will actually be the very first time I've went live on Sunday. But I was doing a little bit of research for my next book, and I was reading through the Hopi prophecy and felt the need, the nudge to read this out loud on a live. So there's probably a reason for that. So that's what this live is going to be about. I'm going to read aloud actually a transcript from the Hopi Elders meeting with the United Nations, discussing their views and parts of the Hopi prophecy. And then once we get through all of that, and it is pretty lengthy, so you guys will have to bear with me. Once we get through that, then we'll have a discussion about it or whatever you guys want to talk about. I'm hoping that goes well. There is an immense amount of pollen in the air where I'm at today, and I'm hoping that I can continue to read this out loud for you guys. I feel it's important, and there's a reason that I felt the need to read this to you guys. So let me see what I missed on the comments real quick. Oh, Rosie, no worries. We'll definitely talk about that again. Good afternoon, Nightpaw. So, before I actually get started reading this with you guys, I won't be able to keep up with the comments while I'm reading this. I'm certain of it. But as new people hop in, if you see somebody asking, hey, what in the world are we doing? What is he talking about? You might comment and let them know that I'm reading the transcript of the Hopi prophecy from the elders meeting with the United Nations, if you don't mind. I tried to get that in the topic to pop up whenever people joined, but I'm not sure if that worked or not. So, and again, I came across this. I'd read this before. I'd heard it. I've seen some videos on it. But I'm doing research for my next book, and this is one of the key bits of information. So I was rereading through that and taking notes on it, and then I decided that I needed to read this to everybody. So you didn't see it? Okay. Yeah, I was kind of afraid of that. So if you guys don't mind, if somebody wants to, what's the next book about? You know what? We might just start by talking about that, and then I will read this to you guys. It is a very big topic. It is one that, thank you for that, my friend. I appreciate that. I got an idea for a book that came to me intuitively, and I do believe it was direct from source or from my spirit guides. And I feel like that it is part of my calling to write this book. Everything that I have researched and or experienced over the last 20 years touches on this topic and kind of would culminate with the writing of this book. So, what the? Yeah, I know, right? We're doing a special live today. So anyway, I will try to give you a very brief synopsis of what this book is about. It is about our transition into the age of Aquarius and the new Earth. and how multiple prophecies have been written and spoken about this generation that we are in right now as we make this transition from just about every indigenous culture around the world. It's not just the Hopi. It's not just the Judeo Christian text. It's all across the globe. Numerous prophecies talking about this pivotal moment. So sharing all of that information and weaving it together about the different prophecies and about, of course, Edgar Casey talking about this very exact thing, talking about the scientific evidence of the physical mechanism of this magnetic polar reversal, how the sun is the driver for all of these changes, not just the physical changes on the earth, but also within us, energetically, vibrationally, spiritually, driving our spiritual evolution and what that looks like as we transition into the age of Aquarius. So that's what this book is going to be all about. And for those who have joined since I started talking, I usually don't do a live on Sunday. So this is a little bit of a special live today. I was doing some research for my next book, and I was rereading through a transcript from a United Nations talk with the Hopi Elders in the early 90s, where they're discussing some of the Hopi prophecies to come and that has already came. And as I was reading through it, I felt a nudge within to go live and just read this out loud. So I think that there's some stuff in there that we probably all need to hear. You guys have probably heard a lot of this before, but bear with me. I'm going to read this. It is pretty lengthy, and I do not speak Hopi. So my pronunciation of some of the names and words will probably be a little bit off, but the message should be understandable. And one last warning before I start reading. Bear with me. You might hear my children screaming in the background, sounding as if they are dying. I assure you they are not. I have a house full of children, and they are a little riled up today. And there's a ton of pollen in the air. My allergies are really acting up today. So I'm hoping my voice will hold up to me reading out loud for so long. So just reposted a video about the rainbow children. Awesome. Definitely all on the same wavelength there. All right, guys. So again, while I'm reading this, I probably won't be able to keep up with the comments, so just keep that in mind. Thank you, Rosie. I appreciate that. Okay, so without any further ado, here we go. The Hopi Message to the United Nations, December 10th, 1992. We Hopi believe that the human race has passed through 3 different worlds and life ways since the beginning. At the end of each prior world, human life had been purified or punished by the Great Spirit Masao, due mainly to corruption, greed, and a turning away from the Great Spirit's teachings. The last destruction was the flood, which destroyed all but a few faithful ones who received a permission from the Great Spirit to live with him in this new land. The Great Spirit said, "It is up to you, if you are willing to live my poor, humble, and simple way of life. It is hard, but if you agree to live according to my teachings and instructions, you never lose faith in the life I shall give you. You may come and live with me." The Hopi and all who were saved from the Great Flood made a sacred covenant with the Great Spirit at that time. We Hopi made an oath that we will never turn away from him. For us, the Creator's laws never change or break down. Hang on. I messed up. To the Hopi, the Great Spirit is all-powerful. He appeared to the first people as a man and talked with them in the beginning of the creation of this world. He taught us how to live, to worship, where to go, what food to carry, and gave us seeds to plant and harvest. He gave us a set of sacred stone tablets into which he breathed all teachings in order to safeguard his land and life. In these stone tablets were made instructions and prophecies and warnings. This was done with the help of the Spider Woman. Before the Great Spirit went into hiding, he and the Spider Woman put before the leaders of the different groups of people many colors and sizes of corn for them to choose their food in this world. The Hopi was the last to pick. The Hopi then chose the smallest ear of corn. The Misal said, "You have shown me you are wise and humble. For this reason we will call you the Hopi, the people of peace." It was to the Spider Woman's 2 grandsons the sacred stone tablets were given. These 2 brothers were instructed to carry them to a place the Great Spirit had instructed them. The older brother was to immediately go to the east, and immediately start to look for his younger brother who shall remain in the land of the Great Spirit. The older brother's mission, when he returned, was to help his younger brother, the Hopi, bring about peace, brotherhood, and an everlasting life. Hopi, the younger brother, was instructed to cover all land and mark it well with footprints and sacred markings, to claim this land for the Creator and the peace on earth. We established our ceremonials and sacred shrines to hold this world in balance, in accordance with our first promise to the Creator. This is how our migration story goes, until we met the Creator at Old Orabi, the place that solidifies, over 1,000 years ago. It was at that meeting when he gave us these prophecies to give to you now, at the closing of the 4th world of destruction and the beginning of the 5th world of peace. He gave us many prophecies to pass on to you, and all have come to pass. This is how we know the timing is now, to reveal the last warnings and instructions to mankind. We were told to settle permanently here in the Hopi land, where we met the Great Spirit, and to wait for our older brother, who went into the east, to return to us. When he returns to this land, he will place his stone tablets side by side to show all of the world that they are our true brothers. When the road in the sky has been fulfilled, and when the inventing of something in the Hopi that means the gourd of ashes, a gourd that, when it drops upon the earth, will boil everything within a large space, and nothing will grow for a very long time. We were told that 3 helpers, who were commissioned by the Great Spirit to help the Hopi bring about the peaceful life on earth, would appear to help us, and that we should not change our homes, our ceremonials, our hair, because the true helpers might not recognize us as the true Hopi. So we have been waiting all these years. It is known that our true white brother, when he comes, will be all-powerful and will wear a red cap or red cloak. He will be large in population and belong to no religion except his own. He will bring with him the sacred stone tablets. With him there will be 2 great ones, both very wise and powerful. One will have a sign or symbol of the swastika, which represents purity and is female, a producer of life. The third one, or the second one of the 2 helpers to our true white brother, will have a sign and the symbol of the sun. He too will be many and very wise and powerful. One will have the symbol of the moja, or the cross. We have in our sacred Kachina ceremonies a gourd rattle, which is still in use to this day, with these symbols of the 3 powerful helpers of our true brother. It is also prophesied that if these 3 fail to fulfill their mission, then one from the west will come like a big storm. He will be many in number and unmerciful. When he comes, he will cover the land like the red ants and overtake this land in one day. If the three helpers chosen by the Creator fulfill their sacred mission, even if there is only 1, 2, or 3 of the true Hopi who remain, holding fast to the last ancient teaching and traditions of the Great Spirit, Masao, will appear before all, and our world will be saved. The three will lay our new life plan, which leads to everlasting life and peace. The earth will become new, as it was from the beginning. Flowers will bloom again, wild game will return to the barren lands, and there will be abundance of food for all. Those who are saved will share everything equally, and they all will recognize Great Spirit and speak one language once again. We are now faced with the great problem, not only here but throughout the land. Ancient cultures are being annihilated. Our people's lands are being taken from them, leaving them no place to call their own. Why is this happening? It is happening because many have given up or manipulated their original spiritual teachings. The way of life, which the Great Spirit has given to all people of the world, whatever your original instructions, are not being honored. It is because of this great sickness called greed, which infects every land and country, that simple people are losing what they have kept for thousands of years. Now we are at the very end of our trail. Many people no longer recognize the true path of the Great Spirit. They have, in fact, no respect for the Great Spirit or for our precious Mother Earth, who gives us all life. We are told that someone would try to go up to the moon, and that they would bring something back from the moon, and that after that, nature would show signs of losing balance. Now we see that coming about. All over the world, there are now many signs that nature is no longer in balance. Floods, drought, earthquakes, and great storms are occurring constantly and causing much suffering. We do not want this to occur in our country, and we pray to the Great Spirit to save us from such things. But there are now signs that this very same thing might happen soon on our own land. Now we must look upon each other as brothers and sisters. There is no more time for division among people. Today I call upon all of us, from right here at home, where we too are guilty of gossiping and causing divisions even among our own families, out to the entire world where thievery, war, and lying go on every day. These divisions will not be our salvation. Wars only bring more wars, never peace. Only by joining together in a spiritual peace with love in our hearts for one another, love in our hearts for the Great Spirit and Mother Earth, shall we be saved from the terrible purification day which is just ahead. There are many of you in this world who are honest people. We know you spiritually, for we are the Men's Society grandfathers who have been charged to pray for you and all life on earth, never forgetting anything or anyone in our ceremonials. Our prayer is to have a good, happy life, plenty of soft, gentle rain for abundant crops. We pray for balance on earth, to live in peace, and to leave a beautiful world to the children yet to come. We know you have good hearts, but good hearts are not enough to help us out with these great problems. In the past, some of you have tried to help us, Hopi, and we will always be thankful for your efforts. But now, we need your help in the worst way. We want the people of the world to know the truth of our situation. This land, which people call the land of the freedom, celebrates many days, reminding people of the world of these things. Yet, in well over 200 years, the original Americans have not seen a free day. We are suffering the final insult. Our people are now losing the one thing which gives life and meaning to life, our ceremonial land, which is being taken away from us. This is the last holy, consecrated, undisturbed, traditional Native American sacred shrine to the Creator. As the prophecy says, this sacred shrine must keep its spiritual pathways open. This village is the spiritual vortex for the Hopi to guide the many awakenings and other true hearts to come home to their own unique culture. Hotovila was established by the last remaining spiritual elders to maintain peace and balance on this continent, from the tip of South America all of the way to Alaska. Many of our friends say Hotovila is a sacred shrine, a national and world treasure, and must be preserved. We need your help. Hello from work. Yes, Arlene, everything's fine. I'm reading a transcript from the Hopi discussion with the United Nations because I feel called to do so. Okay. Where is the freedom which you all fight for and sacrifice your children for? Is it only the Indian people who have lost, or are all Americans losing the very thing which you originally came here to find? We don't share the freedom of the press because what gets into the papers is what the government wants people to believe, not what's really happening. We have no freedom of speech because we are persecuted by our own people for speaking our beliefs. We are at the final stages now, and there is a last force that is about to take away our remaining homeland. We are still being denied many things, including the right to be Hopi and make our living in accordance with our religious teachings. The Hopi leaders have warned leaders in the White House and the leaders in the Glass House, the United Nations, but they do not listen. So as our prophecy says, then it must be up to the people with good, pure hearts that will not be afraid to help us to fulfill our destiny in peace for this world. We now stand at a crossroads, whether to lead ourselves in everlasting life or total destruction. We believe the human being's spiritual power through prayer is so strong that it decides life on earth. So many people have come to the Hopi land to meet with us. Many times people have asked how they can help. Now I hope and pray that your help will come. If you have a way to spread the truth through the newspaper, radio, books, through meeting with powerful people, then tell the truth. Tell them what you know to be true. Tell them what you have seen here, what you have heard us say, and what you have seen with your own eyes. In this way, if we do fall, let it be said that we tried, right up until the end, to hold fast to the path of peace we were originally instructed to do by the Great Spirit. Should you really succeed, we will all realize our mistakes of the past and return to the true path, living in harmony as brothers and sisters, sharing our mother, the earth, with all living creatures. In this way, we could bring about a new world, a world which would be led by the Great Spirit, and our mother will provide plenty and happiness for all. God bless you, each one of you, and know our prayers for peace meet yours as the sun rises and sets. May the Great Spirit guide you safely into the path of love, peace, and freedom. May the holy ancestors of love and light keep you safe in your land and in your homes. Pray for God to give you something important to do in this great work which lies ahead of us all to bring peace on earth. We, the Hopi, hold the sacred stone tablets and now await the coming of the true white brother and others seriously ready to work for the Creator's peace on earth. Be well, my children, and think good thoughts of peace and togetherness. Peace for all life on earth, and peace with one another in our homes, families, and countries. We are not so different in the Creator's eyes. The same great Father Son shines His love on each of us daily, just as Mother Earth prepares the substance for our table. Do they not? We are one after all. Thank you so much for that support, you guys. Let me take a brief break. This is only about halfway through. There's a couple of different speakers here, so. Hopefully my voice will hold out to get through this. Okay, the United Nations mission. In 1959, a delegation of 6 traditional Hopi leaders, led by the late spiritual leader Dan Kachanovka, probably mispronounced that, traveled to the United Nations building in New York to fulfill a sacred mission in accordance with ancient Hopi instruction. Because of their prophetic knowledge, the Hopi leaders felt it was time to go east, where a house of mica, the United Nations building, would stand at this time, where the great leaders from many lands would be gathered to help any people who are in trouble. They were to go when the lands of the Hopi and other Indians were about to be taken away from them, and their way of life was in danger of being completely destroyed. Give me a second, guys. I lost my place. Okay. Mr. Thomas Ben Yaka, again, probably completely butchering that, sprinkled cornmeal next to the podium of the General Assembly and made a brief remark in Hopi that translates as follows. Hopi spiritual leaders had an ancient prophecy that someday world leaders would gather in a great house of mica with rules and regulations to solve the world problems without war. I am amazed to see the prophecy has come true, and you are here today. But only a handful of United Nations delegates are present to hear the Moti Sinum, the Hopi for the first people, from around the world who speak here today. My name is Ben Yaka, of the Wolf, Fox, and Coyote clan, and I am a member of the Hopi Sovereign Nation. Hopi in our language means peaceful, kind, gentle, truthful people. The traditional Hopi follows a spiritual path that was given to us by Masao, the Great Spirit. We made a sacred covenant to follow his life plan at all times, which includes the responsibility of taking care of this land and life for his divine purposes. We have never made treaties with any foreign nation, including the United States, but for many centuries we have honored this sacred agreement. Our goals are not to gain political control, monetary wealth, nor military power, but rather to pray and to promote the welfare of all living things and preserve the world in a natural way. We still have our ancient sacred stone tablets and a spiritual religious society which are the foundations of the Hopi way of life. Our history says our white brothers should have retained those same sacred objects and spiritual foundations. In 1948, all traditional Hopi spiritual leaders met and spoke of things I have felt strongly were of great importance to all people. They selected 4 interpreters to carry their message, of which I am the only one still living today. I made a commitment to carry the Hopi message of peace and deliver warnings from the prophecies known since the time the previous world was destroyed by flood and our ancestors came to this land. My mission was to open the doors of this great house of mica to native peoples. The elders said to knock 4 times, and this commitment was fulfilled when I delivered a letter and the sacred prayer feather I had been given by John Washburn in the Secretary General's office, October 1991. I am bringing part of the Hopi message to you here today. We have only 10 minutes to speak and time is late, so I am making my statement short. At the meeting in 1948, Hopi leaders, 80, 90, and even 100 years old, explained that the Creator made the first world in perfect balance, where humans spoke one language, but humans turned away from moral and spiritual principles. They misused their spiritual powers for selfish purposes. They did not follow nature's rules. Eventually, the world was destroyed by sinking of the land and a separation of land by what you would call major earthquakes. Only a handful survived. Then, This handful of peaceful people came into the second world. They repeated their mistakes, and the world was destroyed by freezing, which you call the Great Ice Age. The few survivors entered into the third world. That world lasted a long time, and, as in previous worlds, the people spoke one language. The people invented many machines and conveniences of high technology, some of which not yet been seen in this age. They even had spiritual powers that they used for good. They gradually turned away from the natural law and pursued only material things, and finally only gambled while they ridiculed spiritual principles. No one stopped them from this course, and the world was destroyed by the great flood that many nations still recall in their ancient history or in their religions. The elders said again, only small groups escaped and came to this fourth world where we now live. Our world is in terrible shape, again, even though the Great Spirit gave us different languages and sent us to the four corners of the world and told us to take care of the earth and all that is in it. The Hopi ceremonial rattle represents Mother Earth. The line running around it is a timeline and indicates that we are in the final days of this prophecy. What have you, as individuals, as nations, and as the world body, been doing to take care of this earth? In the earth today, humans poison their own food, water, and air with pollution. Many of us, including children, are left to starve. Many wars are still being fought. Greed and concern for material things is a common disease. In this Western Hemisphere, our homeland, many original native people are landless, homeless, starving, and have no medical help. The Hopi knew humans would develop many powerful technologies that would be abused. In this century, we have seen the First World War and the Second World War, in which the predicted gourd of ashes, which you call the atomic bomb, fell from the sky with great destruction. Many thousands of people were destroyed in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. For many years, there has been great fear and great danger of World War III. The Hopi believed the Persian Gulf War was the beginning of World War III, but it was stopped, and the worst weapons of destruction were not used. This is now a time to weigh the choices of our future. We do have a choice. If you, the nations of this earth, create another great war, the Hopi believe we humans will burn ourselves to death with ashes. That's why the spiritual elders stress strongly that the United Nations fully open the door for native spiritual leaders as soon as possible. Nature itself does not speak with a voice that can be easily understood. Neither can the animals and birds we are threatening with extinction talk to us. Who in this world can speak for nature and the spiritual energy that creates and flows through all life? In every continent are human beings who are like you but have not separated themselves from the land and from nature. It is through their voice that nature can speak to us. You have heard these voices and many messages from the four corners of the world today. I have studied comparative religion, and I think in your own nations and cultures you have knowledge of the consequences of living out of balance with nature and spirit. The native peoples of this world have seen and spoken to you about the destruction of their lives and homelands, and their ruination of nature and the desecration of the sacred sites. It is time the United Nations used its rules to investigate these occurrences and stop them. The Four Corners areas is bordered by four sacred mountains. The spiritual center within is a sacred site. Our prophecies say it will have a special purpose in the future for mankind to survive, and now should be left in its natural state. All nations must protect this spiritual center. The Hopi and all original native people hold the land in balance by prayer, fasting, and performing ceremonies. Our spiritual elders still hold the land in the Western Hemisphere in balance for all living beings, including humans. No one should be relocated from their sacred homelands in this Western Hemisphere or anywhere in the world. Acts of forced relocation, such as Public Law 93-531 in the United States, must be repealed. The United Nations stands on our native homeland. The United Nations talk about human rights, equality, and justice, and yet the native people have never had a real opportunity to speak at this assembly since its establishment until today. It should be the mission of your nations and this assembly to use your power and rules to examine and work to cure the damage people have done to this earth and